Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Mixed Mowers. In today's video we're going to look at two trash pick mowers. One's got a Briggs & Stratton engine on it and one's got an SV150 engine on it. They're Mountfields. I think they're 474s and 470s. They're particularly rough. I do warn you, they're not in good shape at all. But hopefully we can either get maybe one of these mowers working, if not two, and then whatever we can't get working, I'm going to strip for bits just to show you how I can save money by stripping these engines down and just making my stock levels nice and high, so that when other mowers come in I've got a little bit of backup where I can have a surplus stock to put to use on other mowers. So without further ado, let's get down and dirty and let's have a look at these two little lawnmowers.
Do you feel the pulse?
Okay, so I did say they were rough, and by blimey they are rough. So this one has got the RV 150cc engine on top of it. These are the ones I don't particularly enjoy working on. They can be a bit troublesome compared to the Briggs & Stratton. But we've got a bit of paint flanking on this one. Neither of these come with grass boxes, unfortunately, but I do have spares, so that was not a massive problem for me. This one with the 150 engine on it, that's probably the better condition. It looks more solid. A lot of it is just cosmetic damage, but I dare say with a good jet wash or air compress, this one shouldn't come up too bad if I can get it to run. Whereas this one, on the other hand, no, that's not a side disc chute for the grass to come out. That deck is absolutely rotten, absolutely fallen through. So this one is going to be an outer. We're going to just strip this one down for bits and pieces, but I may say that for another video. Let's see if I can get this other one running first, see if I can get this one up and running, and then I'll do another video on the other Mountfield to show you what vital pieces of equipment I can salvage to take off. The handle does look a bit twisted. If you come around this side of it and look down it, it is slightly twisted to one side, so it does want a bit of straightening up, but that shouldn't be the end of the world. So I haven't done anything to these at all. Literally had just got them in out the van and wheeled them round. So let's get a bit of carburetor spray inside the cylinder housing, check the oil, check the blade, and see if I can get this little engine to fire up. Right, we've actually lead off. I'm just going to undo the spark plug. I can smell fuel. Yeah, and water as well, so that's not a good sign. So I'll give it a couple of pulls over, give it a couple of shots of carburetor cleaner just up inside the cylinder head, just to clear some of that out. That would be the best choice. And there's some water bits coming out of there already. Let's just give it a couple of pulls with no plug-in. Okay, just get a rag just to tidy some of that up. Yeah, there's water in here, I can see it a mile off. Okay, I just want to give the spark plug a quick whiz with the old carburetor cleaner, just to give that half a chance. There's a gap on it, and let's put some of that in there, and then just put the spark plug back in and do that up. And let's give it a couple of pulls. Okay, so I have just noticed before I was going to pull this over, this engine's actually loose, so I'm not going to start it just yet. And there's actually a bolt here. That's an engine bolt. So before I do anything, I'm going to re-secure this engine. So let me find a nut and bolt, and I'll do that. Right, so I've now just fitted that bolt, and the engine is now solid on the deck. So that was lucky. Okay, so just to double check, make sure the blade is correctly fitted, which it is, and it's on the lugs, so that's okay. Right, so I'll just put a bit more squirt into there because it's probably now evaporated off. Don't want to go in there. Tighten that up. Put the next chili back on. Let's give that a quick pull. That's good. So we've got compression and also the engine fired. So we actually have a good engine, which is good. So the question is now, do I get this engine up and running, or do I just still out it? I think I'm going to take a gamble and get this one up and running. So I'll give it a hose off, top and bottom, and then just start to clean it up best I can. And then we're looking to doing a carburetor and everything else. So let's get on with it. As you can see, it's had a hose off and it looks like a different lawnmower already. I'm going to take this cover off next. Very damage to this mower is here, which is such a shame, but that will reduce the price of this mower, but hey ho, it's what it is. So had a good clean on inside and out. I'm going to remove the top cover and make sure just be Phillips screws, remove the air filter and have a look to see what that looks like, and then progress on towards the carburetor. So that's the air filter. That looks actually really good. It wants a blowout. There's a nice spider in there. It wants a bit of a blowout and a clean. Let's get the cover removed. Okie doke. Let's have this cover off. I need to check the oil. Everything else. But what I find, 2 free mowers, and one of them has a potential, if I can get it up and running properly, to turn a profit, which is what we're all after. Oh my lord, yeah, that's bad. So what I'm going to do here, I'm now going to remove these 3 nuts here, which are 10 mils, to get this off, because I want to get inside to blow this all off. Right, I'm using a 10mm nut driver. These are quite good little tools, rather than using socket sets. They're going to go into my magnet tray. Under those 3, and your pull assembly will just lift off, like so. Take this cover off, and as you can see, it's particularly bad. So it all wants a good clean off. I'm going to fire my old air compressor up. I want to have a good look. Incidentally, it has got all the springs in place, which is good. Now's a good time when you can take this carburetor off to take photographs of this to so you know where they go. I have actually done a detailed video of how to clean the SVRV 150 carburetor, so I shan't bore you with how to do that, but check out my other video on how to do the SVRV 150 carburetor. It goes into much detail, so that has just saved the process. So let me get this all air compressed off and then we'll move on. Right, that looks much better already. So the carburetor's all been cleaned out of top to save any foreign objects going back into the carburetor. All the ignition coils been blown off and what have you. I've also blown off the pull cord assembly and the little tiny plastic collar that went onto that. And I've also blown off and cleaned the top cover. So we're starting to look a bit more presentable and a bit clean. So next thing I want to do is just want to remove this air filter cover, and that's done by removing these three 10mm bolts here, which are on tight. Just loosen them off to begin with. And they go into a magnet tray so we don't lose any bits. Once this air filter cover comes off, don't forget to keep hold of the air intake tube, which is at the back of the boxes here. You can either stay on the machine or take it off, one or the other. Here it comes. And then we can remove this air filter box. It comes off, and there's a tube just there. So we have a gasket on here. It looks very, very dirty in there. Very dirty indeed. Let's get a bit of carb cleaner. Just to shoot that in there, just to start to work it loose. Okay, so I now need to double check what fuel we've got in here. Very small amount, but I'm going to be doing a tank flush, so let me get my forceps just to plug this fuel lead off. Okay, and just literally, that pipe is really solid. I may have to replace this pipe. That's not, it feels very, very hard. So that's plugged off, and just remove this little tiny clip. Slide that back off of the carburetor inlet tube. Very, very gently. It's not been off for a while, I'd say. Carburetor's trying to come off with it, which is not what I want just yet. That's it, that's now gone. And now we can start to remove the carburetor. Just pay attention to where the linkages all go. So got one linkage just here, that comes off and twists up. Like so. Now what I like to do with this is just put that back on the machine. Just there. That way I know exactly how it goes on. And then I want to remove this top linkage if I can. This pipe's so hard, it doesn't want to flex much. Just rotate it off. That way you've got all your linkages where they need to be, and your fuel line is now secure. And here's a carburetor. So but let me just move the mower off the table, and then I'll show you inside this carburetor very quickly. Okay, so now I've got my carburetor tray, which is where I put all my carburetor bits. You want some tools for this. You know, have some kind of filing system to clean out the jets. I use these little files that I use for gas propane jets. They're perfect. I also use a selection of dental picks as well for getting inside the jets. A toothbrush, a wire brush, some long nose pliers, some WD-40, and also some carb cleaner. So let's bring the carburetor in. And the first thing I want to do is just want to remove the two nuts at the bottom. I tend to move this one first on the side. These are going to be on the top. No, it's not too bad. Just slacken that one off, and then the main one, which is not going to come off. Let me grab a quick socket. Okay, I just slacken that one off very slightly with a socket, and now it'll undo. Put that one out. Keep all the contaminated stuff inside the one tray, so we know exactly what's going on. That's a bleed bolt. That should take that away for now, because you don't want that to get involved with carburetor spray, because that will expand. And then just encourage this off. A couple of gentle little knocks either side, just to break the seal. That's been on there a little while. I'm trying to save the O-ring underneath if I can. This really does not want to come off. The float is actually stuck to the bowl. It will come eventually. Oh, that's really on there. So corroded. There it goes. That's now off. And oh my word, That's shocking. So I may actually have a spare bowl. I don't think it's worth cleaning that up. We have to see how we get on with it. So let me just give it a blast of spray, just to see if it's worth saving, just to soften some of that up. And a general blast off this area here. Just to work it, trying to get rid of some of this muck. This is probably one of the worst carburetors I've actually seen. I want to remove this pin if I can see it. Just there. It's going to come out. Oh, it does. Look at that. I want to remove the float and the needle. There's the needle just there. Okay, inside here somewhere is a jet. Inside just here. Yep, just about to make it out. So that jet's got to come out. But as I say, if you view my other video with the SVRV 150 carburetor, this should give you a more detailed of how to take this carburetor apart and how to clean it. So go and watch that video, and then I'll clean it myself and I'll come back. Right, that's the carburetor now clean, and as you can see, that was atrocious. That was shockingly bad. That's what was inside that carburetor, and there's no way on this earth or the next that was ever going to run. Unfortunately, the bowl was too far gone, but I do have a donor one. Just wants a bit more of a clean. But the other one was so pitted inside, it just wasn't worth saving. So the main jet inside was also plugged, and I've now have fitted that. I don't know if you can see the hole through that, but it is now clear. That was really plugged, and so was the emulsion tube inside. So carburetor's now been cleaned. I'm going to put it all back together, and then we can start to fit it back to the engine. That's all now done. So now we can start to fit this carburetor back to the engine. And if you remember this little tiny O-ring that's on the back of the carburetor, when I took the carburetor off, it actually stuck to the carb, and it actually wants to go back onto this little tiny pipe just here at the back. That's where he lives, and that forms a good seal when a carburetor is offered back to the engine. Okay, so now we want to put this carb back on, and just got to remember where your linkages go. If you get stuck, just refer back to the video. One goes on to the back, and then this one here, we take it off of this top frame. This is where we left it. Take it off of there, stick it onto the carburetor, and then just wiggle it into position by opening up the valve into position like so, and it goes back on. And that's how a carburetor sits. I've cleaned the fuel tank out. I'm going to leave that pipe on for now, so I want to make sure it runs first. Put the clip back on. Ever so gently. It will go in a minute. That's it there. So carburetor on. That's done. And then all we want to do is bring back in the air filter box. Don't forget your breather pipe that goes on the back of this pipe just here. So sit that on first, offer it on, and just push it back onto the engine like so. And then you want to introduce your new your long bolts first, 2 of those, and they feed through the box, through the carburetor, and onto the engine, and just gently place them in because you've got gaskets in place there. Once they find themselves, just get your nut driver or your socket set and start to take them in home. You want to make sure that carburetor's got a good seal. Make sure it's on. One, 2, and then you've got the smaller one, which goes at the front, just there. If it won't go in, just slacken the 2 big ones off first, so that's gone straight in. And they don't have to be colossally tight, but they need to be on because you need to form a good vacuum, like so. Make sure your linkages all work, which that one's stuck, but it might be because the throttle's on top of the arm on this one. Yeah, there it goes. So that's idle. and choke. Right, that is actually seized on there. That was quite tight, but I just bent this end up ever so slightly just to free it back, and now as you can see, it moves freely. It wasn't moving at all. So I put some WD-40 in there just to give it a bit of free movement, and as you can see now on the governor arm, that's now freed up. So that's good to go. Right, what's next? I can put the air filter back in. That's been blown out. That goes into box, and then just got to refit this air filter cover. Just give it a quick little clean to make it look a bit more attractive to our potential buyer. It looks apart as well as being looked after and maintained, and it should sell. That one goes back onto the 2 lugs on the front. There's only one there, one snapped off. That sits on here like that. So now this is all working. This is cutting as the governor arm rotates. So I'm happy that's all now loose and as it should be. Right, let's have a quick look at the oil, see what that looks like. Right, now, is this going to be a typical SV150 engine? When you undo the dipstick, the whole lot moves? Yeah, nothing changes. Such a bad design. Whenever you go to check the oil, the whole lot comes out with it. So I'll give it a bit of a clean up, the whole lot, and then what I do is, if you do actually have a spanner fitting under the bottom here, I'll remove a tank quick just by removing these 3 nuts, one here, one in the centre, one at the back, and take the tank off and then just screw this down tight. Okay, so as I said, just slacken this one off over the far side. These are 10 mils. Take that one off. It's a pain in the bum, these are. It's such a poor design. Everyone's the same, no matter which one I've had, they've all been the same. And then there's one more at the back, which is a 10 mil. That needs a socket. Let me grab a quick socket. Okay. There's ones at the back here, which you can't really see, but it's self-explanatory. It's the only one there. That goes just on there, and we'll take that off there. That will then loosen this tank off. I don't think I've come across one yet that hasn't happened. That bolt comes out, and you show one more here. What did say there's 3. One on the top. And that will then release a tank. Careful not to get any dirt in there. You can then reintroduce your oil filler channel, screw that in, and then with an adjustable, or I think 15 mil, just tighten that up. Here it is there, so that's a 19 mil. Just tighten that up. That's it. So now when you go to check your oil, literally this now won't come apart. I'll just refit the tank, exactly the same process. Stick it up in its mountings. There's my 10 mil nut driver. Here it is. Start the top one up first. Just guide that in its place. In one on the side. Do that one up. Nice and tight. That's 2, and then the 3rd one goes in the bottom behind the tank. There's only one hole there, you can't go wrong. Stick that one in and just nick him up with your sockets. Okay, that's them all done. Right, now we can check the oil. So that screws in. Now when you undo that, it'll stay where it is. And we have, it's up to the minimum level. Actually that oil doesn't look too bad, but yeah, it's not too bad. I'm going to do it, give it my suction tank. Literally just put that into the engine and start sucking away, and you'll see the oil come up the pipe. Here it comes. I'll suck this all out and I'll come back. Okay, so that's all the oil taken out. I literally tipped the lawnmower up on its side a bit just to make sure it all come out, because if you remember we actually found water in top of the cylinder head, so I want to make sure we've got it all out. Now there's no oil in it and no petrol, we're going to tip the lawnmower up on its side, and I want to remove the blade to give it an edge, because the edge is no good at all. So I'll remove the blade by taking that nut off. That comes off. Just be wary to take the spark plug HT lead off to make sure the engine doesn't fire. Although there's no fuel in here, that still doesn't mean there's no residue for it just to fire over and have an accident. So wherever work underneath one, take the HT lead off. There's the new nut and bolt I put on, that wasn't on there correctly, so I'm just literally going to undo this blade and give it a new edge. Right, so one of the best ways to remove a blade is actually with an impact gun, which I don't currently have, so that's going to be my next present to myself, is to buy an impact gun. But I put a bit of wood through if they're particularly hard, and then literally put the socket on if needed some encouragement. But this is not too bad, but I had just noticed the blade boss is smashed on this, so that's going to need to be replaced, because I certainly can't sell it with a damaged blade boss on there. That would be irresponsible. So that nut comes off, like so. So this just has not been maintained in any way, shape or form. And then the blade comes off. Sorry about knocking you. And I've got to figure out how to get this blade boss off. I'm guessing it's not going to come off in any... Oh, it might do. They're particularly difficult at times to get off. There's a keyway in there as well, which I'm trying not to damage, but I've got to get it off. That's it. That's come off. So that would have taken nothing for that blade literally just to fall off. I'll take all this string out. That can all come off. I'll give it a sand and a clean. There's actually no keyway in there, which is also worrying because it's not here. So I've got a spare keyway, and I'm hoping I've got a spare boss. So let me give this blade a sharpen and see if I can locate a new boss. Right, so that's a blade with a new edge, both sides, sharp on one side, and then just dull it off the back, and look at that, another boss. So I'm hoping that's going to fit. It should do. Yeah, it will want to clean it up, so I'm going to clean that up, and I'll refit the blade exactly the same way as I took it off, and find a keyway just to put in there as well, just to make sure it doesn't come adrift. So just wants a little tiny little tiny keyway in there, and we'll be good to go. Right, so that's had a bit of a clean up, and I've also found a keyway as well, and that's just going to sit in that groove just there. That'll then connect with the boss, so when the crankshaft spins, it'll spin in relation with the blade boss. So I'm guessing he's hit something with that. I'm surprised we haven't actually got a bent crank, but I have spun the blade around and it's even all the way around. So let me fit the keyway, the blade boss and the blade, and then we'll tip it back up on his wheels. Right, so that's a blade boss on, keyway in, and blade sharpened. So now I want to introduce some more oil. Literally just pour the oil in, and we're going to be using a SAE 30 oil, and you got a minimum and a maximum line. There's a minimum and there's a maximum. Just fill it up to the maximum. Just take your time, a little bit often, to the right level. Whilst that's filling up, I'm going to just start to put on the pulley assembly and the cover again, just to make sure that's all on in place. So whilst that's filling up, as I said, just put on the pull cord assembly, make sure the HT lead isn't being pinched, and then the cover. Okay, so that's now had all of it all done. So full oil change, which is good. And it's just up to the top mark. That's where it should be. So I'm just going to put a new spark plug in, and then put some fuel in, and then let's see if we can get this lawnmower started. Okay, I hope you hear me. The wind has picked up slightly, so I do apologise for the wind interference. But let's get on with it. Let's see if this lawnmower runs. Okay, so straight away the lawnmower is over revving, so I need to double check that carburetor setting on the top, so I'll just remove the cover very quickly. Okay, so she's smoking a bit, but that's all the water that's coming out of there. So what it is, it's actually not an issue, it's just that little sticky linkage just in here. That linkage just there, that's the one that was playing up earlier on, if you remember rightly. I'll try and get you in there. That little link is just there. That's one that's playing up. So I had to put a bit more WD-40 on top of it and just adjusted the screw, but I'm going to be taking the pull cover back off again, just to give it a bit of a strip down and clean. But I have got it running. It revs up high to it initially, but then settles back down. But either way, it is running. So what I intend to do now is put it down the bottom of the garden and let it run for about 5-10 minutes. As I say, I'm just going to literally just lubricate this linkage back up. It's just not springing how it should. It may be getting caught up on the back of this governor arm with these cables. Sometimes they're prone for that. In fact, I might just nick this cable tie up slightly. Move it down a bit, because just here, let me get you right in there so you can see, these are prone for, if this cable, which it was, if I move this cable tied back, see that cable there, see how that's sat on that governor arm? Well, if you pull that cable tied back round, it then comes away and allows that governor arm to move. So sometimes it could just be that cable there, so I might just try that again just to see if that makes any difference. It may not. So that's exactly what it was. So literally this cable here, it just touches on the back of a governor arm and doesn't allow that governor arm to come back. A real common mistake people make, they think their engines are over revving, they get rid of them or their engine blows up. It's purely because of that cable is just touching that governor arm. So actually that's fixed it. So let's just fire it up one more time. Absolutely fantastic. And whilst I was down the bottom of the garden, I found found one of these. So now it has a box as well. I've just got to readjust the idler screw because it's not ticking over as fast as I would like. What a fantastic result. A lawnmower, or a pair of lawnmowers that were destined to only go one way, destined to go into a landfill or a tip. This is such a shame. This lawnmower was deeply neglected, but with a little bit of elbow grease and a little bit of work, we was able to bring this lawnmower back up and running, fully serviced. I'm going to let this lawnmower run for about 10 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes, just to make sure there's no other quirks coming out, the ignition core is okay, things like that. Those sort of things show after the engine gets particularly warm. So thanks for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this episode of Mixed Mowers. I really did. This is the type of work I really enjoy doing, getting these old mowers that I really have passed their sell by date and bringing them back to life. So I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. If you like this video, find it at all helpful, please remember to like, subscribe and leave a comment below. Thank you very much. See you again soon.